following views and comments are by MC and Jester. If you do not like their views or comments, don't listen to their podcast.
Welcome to this week's Me Podcast You Listen. This week, MC and Jester discuss NFL and also fantasy football.
All right, welcome to Me Podcast You Listen. Back here with MC.
Hello, Jester, and we got a big topic this week. We're going to talk about all things NFL as it relates to specifically our teams, the Chicago Bears, the Oakland Raiders. We got some fantasy, either updates and advice, whatever we want to talk about in that regards. And yeah, we're going to just have a fun podcast talking about something we both love, and that's NFL football.
That's one thing about this podcast that's kind of interesting now that this is our third show. And we realize that we do have a lot to talk about. Me and MC have known each other for quite a while. And we talk about a whole variety of topics. And for some reason, we spend hours just going over one thing. So basically, this Me Podcast You Listen show is basically us talking, you listening. And that's why you tune in, just to get our words of wisdom and our advice and the things that we like. And if for some reason you feel like you don't like it, then don't listen to it. That's the beauty of the podcast.
Or just the cool thing is across social media platforms, obviously we promote this to our friends, and we encourage you and have encouraged as well to get the word out to other people. But tell us what you want to hear. If you want to hear our thoughts on a certain movie that we both need to go watch and give our reviews on, or a classic, cult classic, or just something in general you want us to talk about, by all means, suggest it. I know some people have already asked about Me Podcast You Listen merch, specifically when it comes to T-shirts, and those will be coming as well, so definitely stay tuned.
Yeah, me make shirts, you buy them. That's pretty much how we work on that. And the other thing is, too, is you can look us up on Me Podcast You Listen on Instagram, as we'll be creating an Instagram page, and as well as we'll create a Facebook page, Me Podcast You Listen. And that's basically how you'll get
all these will exist.
Yes, they will. Yeah.
And we will have them plugged every week as well. By the time this reaches you, I'm sure everything will be in full effect. But we got to have the content for you guys to listen. So that's what we're doing here, and we're stacking them up and recording a bevy of different things, and it's going to be some fun stuff as we jump into the NFL portion of our topic this week.
Yes, we're going to talk about the NFL, and one of the things that just you inform me of, it just shows you I don't follow it that well, but I do follow my team, which is the Oakland Raiders, which so far this season they're not doing that great. I think we had bigger expectations to them as fans, that we thought that they were going to come out with the new head coach, John Gruden. He was going to change the team, change the culture, but then he started off right away on a bad foot and got rid of Khalil Mack and gave him to the Chicago Bears.
And a lot of people say, Jamie, and I'm pretty sure you would disagree with this, having watched Mack for, I believe the 5 years he was with you guys, and now he's on my Bears, is, they gave up too much to get him, whatever like that. First off, Khalil Mack, I think we could both agree on, if not the best defensive player in the league, he's right there with Aaron Donald of the Rams. So right off the bat, if you trade a number one pick, you have got a proven commodity. So a number one pick, which the Bears perennially don't do very well with drafting a number one pick, right there, you got one of the best defensive players in the league right off the bat for your first pick you gave him. Then, although we're giving them, the following year's number one pick, we're getting the Raiders' second round pick, which if they stay this bad is probably going to be pretty high. So I call that virtually a wash to get Khalil Mack, one of the best players in the league. So I don't think the Bears, gave up too much. If anything, if I'm a Raiders fan, I'd be pretty upset that you traded him, and now I don't know what your expectations could be. You're going to be nothing but worse trading one of the best players in the league.
Yeah, and then we gave him up for a potential draft pick in the future, and the Bears aren't doing so bad with the new defense. looking a lot like the Bears from the 80s right now with those monsters up front. That monster four, the four-man front they have, is wreaking havoc on quarterbacks, which is pretty much what the Bears needed. They needed that kick. Plus, I like their quarterback, Trubisky. Is that his name? That guy I picked that guy for my fantasy, and that guy puts up points because that dude is just a big goofball who was not afraid to run it and throw it. He's just out there to play football, and that's what you want right now in Chicago.
And it took the Bears a little bit to find their identity offensively, which I had actually drafted Mitchell in the later rounds of our fantasy thing, and I had dropped him because at the beginning of the year the Bears couldn't find their identity offensively. They were very much defensively, as you said, hearkening back to the Monsters of Midway. Their identity had been reestablished as a defensive monster again, led by Khalil Mack. But with Mack's injury as of late as record time here, the Bears have looked not as great, in recent games. But if they can get a healthy Mack back on that field, that makes everybody better on the defense. And now, as you said, with Mitch putting up the big numbers now, both, as we'll talk about in fantasy as well, Cohen, Trubisky putting up big, numbers. Gabriel up until last week, they had a couple weeks before. The Bears offensively are looking a lot more offensively potent as Matt Nagy has taken the offense into more direction of high octane, much like he did with the Kansas City Chiefs. So the Bears, if they can get both sides of the ball working good, where the defense is healthy with getting Mack back out there 100% healthy, this is going to be a dangerous team in the future. So the Bears, after this Mack trade, trending right in the right direction that this longtime fan, myself and all the Bears fans want to see.
Yeah, and now the Raiders go another step and they trade Amari Cooper to the Cowboys for their first-round draft pick. So it appears that all John Gruden's doing is just dismantling a program which last year almost went to the playoffs. And they're trying to rebuild and go with potential first-round draft picks, which in the NFL, your first-round draft picks is pretty much just like reaching in a barrel and finding the shiniest apple. And sometimes when you find a really shiny apple and you open it up, it's rotten. And that's how I look at draft picks sometimes, is these teams are looking at draft picks, potential college football players. You don't know their future. You don't know what's going to happen to them. There's a possibility they could get injured during the rest of their college season. They could go out and get in a car accident or some dumb shit, and then you're putting all your money on these draft picks and all your time, and you're getting rid of your franchise players and these players that are building your team. And then all of a sudden, you break the news to me today as we're talking that they're thinking about getting rid of Derek Carr. What the fuck is going on, man? The Raiders all of a sudden just dismantled it. They're gambling, maybe because they're going to Las Vegas and they're trying to take their team to a higher stakes. And pretty soon we're going to have a Dallas Cowboys team showing up with a bunch of players who just can't finish the season because we're putting all our money on potential, when right now we have what it takes to be a good football team. We got rid of one good player. Now we're getting rid of we got rid of another one. Now we're possibly going to get rid of a third one. This just disappoints me as a Raiders fan. I've been a Raiders fan since I was 10 years old. I've watched teams go. I've always been a Raiders fan, even though they suck ass even this year. But I never would think that a head coach would come in and just try to explode the roster and then put it back together with possible pieces. Not even, why don't you trade for someone else that maybe is hot in the NFL right now?
Yeah, you would imagine that Gruden would have tried to go in the other direction. Now, I understand they were at an impasse with Khalil Mack. He's not reporting. They had a problem in there, but here's the thing that he has proven, I think, time and time and again, that he is a difference maker. And then you put him on the Bears as you did. He proved that this man makes the entire defense better. So if you're even going to entertain the thought of trading Derek Carr, because that's the reason you couldn't afford Mack was Carr, I don't understand the reasoning that Gruden's making at all. I would have then traded Carr and kept Mack and then went that route if that's what you were going to do. Because to me, in this system that the Raiders have, something is not working. So if you're not going to have something, work, I mean, the building piece for me, and if you said, hey, who do you want on your team, Derek Carr or Khalil Mack, I would have told you I'll build with Mack, and take my chances from there.
Yeah, because again, it's all the money they put into having all these star players, and now everybody's not producing. You got people just kind of bailing on the team, and everybody's like, well, Marshawn Lynch should be an all-star running back. Dude, he's a power running back. The Raiders don't need power running backs. They need some kind of like squirrely running back. Bring back Bo Jackson, for God's sakes. Bring back someone who's got explosive power but also can break away when you do get in the open field. They lack that as a team. And the offense, you can't always ask Derek Carr to pass and ask him to hold the team together. He's not a bad quarterback. He's shown his commitment as a quarterback. He just needs a little more direction. He's young. So why would you get rid of him so early? I mean, look at the freaking Cardinals. They hold on to quarterbacks until they're in wheelchairs and retired. So take that, and it's going to be that. It's going to be exactly that. It's going to be just like the Cardinals. When they give up these players, they're going to go shine for another team. And all you're going to do is look at it and say, this is bullshit, man. We gave up good players for this dude from LSU or this dude from USC, and they came out and they miss their mommy and they want to go home, or they don't want to show up because they're not getting enough money, and then they did nothing. So as a Raiders fan, I want to go back to like what the Bears are in. Go back to hardcore, in the trenches football program that's just going to go out there and battle and try to win football games instead of a team that's going out there and trying to showboat.
Yeah, I think I'm going to say even if they, and hopefully for your sake they don't trade Carr, but out of all the three, I mean, you would have expected, given I know the contract impasse, but you would have expected to trade. Who let the dogs out?
I know. What the shit, man? We're supposed to be we're inside of our studio right now. There's no dogs in here.
You expect Cooper to be traded first because they, over the years, I don't think the Oakland Raiders utilized Amari Cooper to his fullest potential. I mean, he showed flashes, but imagine, especially before the year, he may have been able to get a little bit more from him, given the fact that, it seemed like when Crabtree was on the Raiders, it seemed like Carr liked to target Crabtree more than anybody last year. So
yeah, they got rid of him. And they got rid of Crabtree.
They let Crabtree go to the Ravens too. So they, you're left with a lot of the stuff that worked last year for the Raiders, like you said, on a verge of making the playoffs. You don't go backwards by trading your best defensive player. That made no sense. I'm really still flabbergasted you guys would have traded somebody like Mack.
And then we pick up Jory Nelson. And again, he wasn't that awesome anyways at Green Bay, and we put all that time and effort into that dude, and try to replace Crabtree. Crabtree was a thug, man. He went out there and played. And now we pick up Jory Nelson. Well, Jory Nelson is used to getting the ball thrown right to him. And at the Raiders, that's not how it is, man. You got to go get it. They throw it up, you go get it. And he doesn't go get it at all. He doesn't shine like I thought he would. And now they're getting rid of their other player who goes out there and hustles, and that's Cooper. So now I'm just curious. It's going to put all the money on their tight end. They're going to have to put everything into Cook, and Cook's going to have to be the dude. And who is asking a tight end to get the ball most of the time? That's ridiculous. So now we're just giving up. This season's over, in my opinion. We'll just be lucky to get out of there with a 500 or better season, and then see what happens next year.
Yeah, I'd have to agree that your season is definitely a loss. I'm not going to suggest that they, want to lose out, but I'm pretty sure they want to get that number one pick to have their pick of the litter of who they're going to replace guys like Mack with, and Cooper. If there is a trade of Derek Carr, you're going to need a quarterback. And like we talked about, like you just talked about, I mean, how hard was it for the Cardinals to find a quarterback, the Bears for years, and even now, hopefully Mitch is the answer. But look how many, failed draft picks the Bears have made attempting to get a quarterback. From Grossman to Cade McNown, they tried their hand at Rick Meyer. They brought in guys like Glennon, and it's very hard